What if your entire childhood was spent being the servant, not the sibling? Avery had spent her life doing everything for her family, cooking, cleaning, raising the twins while they lived carefree. Then, when it was time for college, her parents refused to pay for her education, saving everything for the Golden Twins instead. She left, built her own success, and never looked back. Years later, she discovered the final betrayal. Her own mother had excluded her from a grand birthday party, ashamed to introduce her as family. But this time, Avery wasn't going to stay quiet. Stay tuned to see how she finally takes her power back. And don't forget to subscribe for more gripping stories. My name is Avery, and I'm the oldest of 3 children. My father runs his own business. My mother works part-time at a trading company. And then there are the twins, Brittany and Cody, who are 6 years younger than me. The golden children. The ones who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. From the moment they were born, my role in the family shifted. I wasn't just a big sister. I became their nanny, their housekeeper, their personal assistant rolled into one. While other kids my age spent their afternoons hanging out with friends or playing sports, I was picking up the twins from school, helping with their homework, chauffeuring them to their activities. The house was my responsibility too, cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping. If it needed to be done, I was the one doing it. Meanwhile, Brittany and Cody never lifted a finger. They'd come home, drop their backpacks wherever they pleased, and leave a trail of mess behind them like it was their personal signature. One particularly frustrating afternoon when I was 15, I finally worked up the courage to ask my parents about it. "Mom, Dad," I said at dinner, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "Why am I the only one doing housework? Brittany and Cody never help with anything." Mom put down her fork and gave me that look, the one that made me feel ridiculous for even asking. "Honey, that's just how things work in families. The oldest child always has more responsibilities." "But that's not true," I shot back. "I've been to Megan's and Jessica's houses and their families split the chores equally." Mom's expression hardened. "Those families are raising their children wrong. Is that what this is about? You've been getting ideas from your friends?" Across the table, the twins exchanged smug glances. They loved it when I got shut down. Later that week, I tried a different approach talking to Brittany and Cody directly. "Why don't you guys ever help with the housework?" I asked while helping them with their homework. Brittany rolled her eyes. "Mom says we need to focus on school and activities. That's our job." "Yeah," Cody added with a smirk. "You're supposed to do all that stuff. Mom told us so." But it wasn't just about the chores. They enjoyed making my life harder. They'd deliberately mess up rooms I had just cleaned, break things and blame me, or lie to our parents claiming I hadn't helped them with their homework or had forgotten something they needed. By the time my senior year rolled around, I should have been focused on college applications, campus visits, and planning for my future. Instead, it was just another reminder that in this family, I would always come second to the twins. I remember that evening clearly. I was sitting at the kitchen table, college brochures spread out in front of me, my mind racing with possibilities. Then my parents walked in. They had that look, the one they always wore when they were about to deliver bad news. "Avery, we need to talk about college," Dad started, not quite meeting my eyes. Mom jumped in, her voice matter of fact. "We've been looking at our finances and we just don't have the money for your college education. All our savings need to go toward the twins' future education." The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat there staring at the brochures that now seemed to mock me with their promises of bright futures and new beginnings. "But I've been working so hard," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "My grades are good. I could get scholarships." "The decision is final," Mom cut me off. "We have to think about Brittany and Cody's future." "What about my future?" I asked, fighting back tears. "You're resourceful, honey," Dad said, patting my shoulder awkwardly. "You'll figure something out." That night, I lay in bed listening to the twins laughing in their room down the hall. They already knew, I could tell by the way they'd been smirking at me during dinner. Once again, they were getting everything while I got nothing. But something snapped in me that night. Instead of breaking down, I got angry, really angry. The next day, I started job hunting. Within 2 weeks, I had lined up a position at an entry-level corporate job. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough for me to rent a tiny apartment. The day after graduation, I moved out. The years that followed were hard, but I worked my ass off. I took every training opportunity my company offered, volunteered for extra projects, and slowly climbed the corporate ladder. While I didn't have a college degree, I had something better: real-world experience and a fierce determination to succeed. Meanwhile, the twins got their college education just as planned. Mom and Dad found plenty of money for their tuition, housing, and expenses. They graduated with fancy degrees and even fancier attitudes about it. The irony? Brittany can't hold down a job for more than a few months at a time. There's always an excuse: her boss didn't recognize her talent, the company culture wasn't a good fit, the job was beneath her. And Cody? He's working as a warehouse supervisor, a position that definitely doesn't require the expensive degree our parents went into debt for. But that doesn't stop them from bringing up their college education at every single family gathering. Well, as someone with a degree in business administration, Brittany will begin, casting me that practiced, condescending glance. You know, back in college, Cody will add, never willing to be outdone. I just sip my wine and listen, hiding my smirk behind the rim of my glass. My salary alone is more than their combined incomes, but I never say a word. I don't need to. One afternoon during my lunch break, I was mindlessly scrolling through my feed when a post from my cousin Megan caught my eye. She stood there in a stunning emerald green dress, beaming at the camera. "Can't wait for Aunt Margaret's big celebration!" I froze, my sandwich halfway to my mouth. My mother's birthday wasn't for another few weeks, and I hadn't heard anything about a celebration. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. Maybe it was something else entirely. Fingers hovering over the keyboard, I finally typed, "Beautiful dress! What's the celebration for?" Megan responded almost immediately. "For Aunt Margaret's 55th birthday party! It's going to be amazing! How haven't you started planning your outfit yet?" It felt like being dunked in ice water. My mother was planning a big birthday party, and I, her eldest daughter, knew nothing about it. My hands trembled as I pulled up my phone contacts and called her. She answered on the fourth ring. "Avery, what is it? I'm rather busy right now." I took a slow breath, forcing my voice to stay even. "Mom, I just saw Megan's post about your birthday party. Why haven't I heard anything about it?" A pause, then a quiet sigh. When she finally spoke, her voice carried that familiar, condescending tone I had spent my whole life listening to. "Oh, that. Well, Avery, I didn't invite you because I don't want you there." I actually pulled the phone away from my ear, staring at the screen as if I had misheard. "What? What do you mean you don't want me there? I'm your daughter!" "Yes, well..." She cleared her throat. "The thing is, Avery, this is going to be quite an upscale event. There will be a lot of important people there, your father's business associates, my friends from the country club, and frankly, I'd be embarrassed to introduce you. You don't have a college degree, Avery. What would I even say when people ask what you do? It would be uncomfortable." I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to my mother tell me, in no uncertain terms, that I wasn't good enough to attend her birthday party. I already knew the answer, but I still asked the question. "So, Brittany and Cody are invited?" "Of course they are," she replied, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "They're college graduates. They understand how to conduct themselves in sophisticated company." I thought about Brittany, who couldn't hold down a job for more than a few months, and Cody, who worked in a warehouse, but they had degrees, so apparently that made them sophisticated enough for Mom's party. "I see," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. "So that's really how you feel about me?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Avery. This is exactly why I didn't want to have this conversation. You always make everything into such a scene." I'd always known my mother loved the twins more than me, but this was different. This wasn't just preferential treatment or casual neglect. This was my mother explicitly stating that she was ashamed of me, that I wasn't worthy of being seen with the family in public. I barely slept that night, my mother's words playing on repeat in my head. By morning, I'd convinced myself that my father couldn't possibly agree with this. He'd always been more reasonable, even if he did favor the twins. I needed to hear his side of things. I drove to my parents' house the next morning, rehearsing what I'd say in my head. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed both Brittany's and Cody's cars were there too. Great, the whole family was home for this showdown. Mom answered the door with an exasperated look, like I was a door-to-door salesperson interrupting her day. "Avery, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Dad," I said, pushing past her into the house. They were all in the living room. Dad in his usual armchair, the twins sprawled on the couch like they owned the place. "Dad," I started, my voice already shaking with emotion. "Did Mom tell you about our conversation yesterday? What do you think about it?" He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, not quite meeting my eyes. "I think your mother's right. It would be better if you didn't come." The words hit me like a slap. I looked around the room at these people who were supposed to be my family. "All of you feel this way? Obviously." Brittany rolled her eyes. "Nobody wants you there." Cody nodded. "For once, can't you just accept something without making it into a huge deal?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So none of you see anything wrong with excluding me from a family celebration? Don't you realize how unfair this is? It's been like this my entire life. The twins are the favorites, and I'm pushed into the background. You don't even see me as part of this family anymore." "See?" Brittany jumped up, pointing at me accusingly. "This is exactly why we don't want you there. You're such a drama queen, Avery, always making scenes, always reacting negatively to everything. Every time something good happens to us, you try to ruin it with your attitude. You're just jealous because Cody and I made something of ourselves while you—" "That's enough." I cut in, my voice rising. "Made something of yourselves? You can't keep a job for 3 months, and Cody's working in a warehouse. The only thing you've made of yourselves is a joke." "Avery!" Mom gasped, clutching her pearls like I'd just committed some horrible social faux pas. I turned to my father, desperately seeking some sign of support, but his face had hardened. "I think it's time for you to leave," he said firmly. "This conversation is over. Leave our house immediately." I stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. As I got into my car, I could see them through the living room window, probably already criticizing my dramatic exit, but I didn't care anymore. They'd finally shown their true colors, all of them. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes life hands you an opportunity that's too perfect to pass up. That's exactly what happened. 2 weeks before my mother's birthday, I was grabbing lunch at this little cafe downtown, not my usual spot, but my regular place was packed. As I waited for my order, I glanced around the room, and that's when I saw her. My mother was sitting in a corner booth, trying to be inconspicuous in a wide-brimmed hat, but I'd know that perfect posture anywhere. She wasn't alone. Sitting across from her was a man I'd never seen before. He was probably in his early 40s, well-dressed in a business suit, and definitely not my father. As I watched, he reached across the table and touched her hand, and she giggled, actually giggled, like a schoolgirl. My phone was in my hand before I even realized what I was doing. I pretended to be scrolling through social media while carefully angling the camera their way. Click. Another touch. Click. A shared laugh. Click. After about an hour, they got up to leave. I waited a few moments, then followed. They got into his car, a sleek black Mercedes, and I followed in mine, keeping a safe distance. The car stopped at a red light, and I managed to get several clear shots of them kissing passionately, completely oblivious to the world around them. The Mercedes pulled up to the Grand Plaza Hotel. I parked across the street and watched as they walked in, hands clasped like teenagers in love. I recorded everything the way they entered, how they lingered at the check-in desk, the way they couldn't keep their hands off each other while waiting for the elevator. Back at home, I got to work. A quick search of the man's license plate led me straight to his social media. He wasn't hard to find. Richard Thompson, successful real estate developer, office downtown, married, 3 kids. The perfect family man, at least on paper. I spent the next few days preparing every detail. The photos were printed in high resolution, every damning moment captured in crisp, undeniable clarity. The one of them kissing in the car came out particularly well. The hotel entrance footage went onto a USB drive along with several other incriminating clips. I chose the most elegant gift box I could find, a cream-colored one with gold trim. Every photo was carefully rolled into a neat scroll, tied with a silk ribbon, classy, sophisticated, exactly the way my mother always insisted everything should be. The final touch was the card. In my best calligraphy, I wrote Mr. Thompson, full name and address, followed by a simple note. Thought you might want to know who your husband really is. That one was for his wife. Mom had mentioned her specifically when raving about her distinguished guest list. I sealed the box, tied it with a golden ribbon, and stepped back. It looked exactly like an expensive birthday present. No one would suspect what was inside until it was far too late. The day of my mother's birthday party arrived. Everything was set. The courier was scheduled to deliver the package at precisely 8:30 p.m., just as they'd be opening gifts. I sat in my apartment that evening, phone in hand, refreshing my screen every few minutes. At 8:32 p.m., the confirmation came, delivered. Now, all I had to do was wait. I didn't have to wait long. At exactly 7 o'clock a.m. the next morning, my phone rang. It was my cousin Megan, and she was practically breathless with excitement. "Oh my God, Avery, you will not believe what happened at the party last night." She barely paused before continuing. "It was absolutely insane. Everything was going exactly how Aunt Margaret wanted, perfect, elegant, sophisticated, and then they started opening gifts." I could picture it perfectly. My mother, glowing in the center of her carefully curated guest list, dressed in something expensive, savoring the attention. She was reading each card out loud, making a huge deal out of everything. Then she got to this really elegant cream-colored box. I could hear the grin in Megan's voice. She opened it and saw these rolled-up things tied with ribbons. She was actually gushing about how beautifully they were presented as she untied the first one. Megan's voice shot up an octave. Then she unrolled it, and Avery, I have never seen someone's face change color so fast. "What happened then?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay neutral. "Everything exploded!" Megan practically shrieked. "The photo showed her kissing some man, and get this, the man and his wife were both at the party. Your dad grabbed the photo, and then he started opening all the other rolls. Each one was worse than the last. Pictures of them going into the hotel, holding hands, kissing, it was all there." I could almost hear the chaos unfolding. Your dad lost it. He lunged across the table at the guy. They started fighting right there between the cake and the champagne. The guy's wife started screaming at your mom, calling her every name in the book. She was throwing things, glasses, plates, everything she could get her hands on. She was yelling about how they'd been married for 20 years, how they had 3 kids, how your mom was a homewrecker. Megan was practically giddy. I leaned back, letting out a slow breath. Perfect. Some of the guests tried to separate everyone, but it was complete chaos. "Sounds intense," I said carefully. Megan lowered her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Can I be honest? It was kind of amazing to watch. Your mom has spent years looking down her nose at everyone, acting like she's better than the rest of us, always lecturing everyone about proper behavior and family values. And then this happens. The hypocrisy is just—" She actually laughed. "I know I probably shouldn't say this, but it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person." I thought about my mother's perfectly planned party, her carefully cultivated image, her precious high society friends, all of it shattering like the champagne glasses her lover's wife had thrown. Within days, I heard from various relatives that Dad had moved out of the house and was staying at a hotel. He'd already contacted his lawyer about filing for divorce. I wasn't surprised by Dad's reaction. He'd always been proud, maybe to a fault, and this kind of public humiliation wasn't something he could forgive. What did surprise me was his phone call a few days later. "Avery." His voice sounded different, older somehow, more uncertain. "I need to ask you something. I'm going to have DNA tests done on all 3 of you. I need some samples from you, hair and saliva." My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't expected this, though perhaps I should have. "You think we might not be?" "I don't know what to think anymore," he cut in. "After discovering your mother's activities, I'm not sure of anything." "Can I get the samples?" "Of course," I said. "You can come by any time." He came by that afternoon. I'd never seen him look so defeated. His shoulders slumped, his face drawn. This wasn't the stern, confident father I remembered. This was a broken man trying to piece together what was left of his life. I watched as he carefully collected the samples, placing them in sterile containers. His hands were shaking slightly. 2 weeks passed. I tried not to think about the tests, but it was impossible not to wonder. Then Dad called again. "Can I come over?" His voice was strange, tight with emotion. "We need to talk." 20 minutes later, he was sitting on my couch, staring at his hands. "I got the results," he said finally. "You're mine, only you. The twins, they're not mine. Your mother, she confessed everything." He looked up at me, his eyes red-rimmed. She had an affair years ago, the man she loved. He wouldn't leave his family for her, so she settled for having his children. He died a few years back. I've cut off contact with the twins. I can't even look at them now. Every time I see them, I see the lies, the betrayal. The pieces were finally falling into place. All those years of preferential treatment, the constant favoritism. She loved him, and she loved his children. Dad continued, his voice bitter. "But she never really loved me. And you," he looked at me, real pain in his eyes. "You were mine, so she pushed you aside, made you the outsider in your own home. And God, Avery, I let her do it. I let her turn me against my only real child." He reached for my hand, then stopped himself. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was a terrible father to you, but if you'd be willing, if you'd let me try, I'd like to have a relationship with my daughter, my real daughter." I looked at this broken man, my father, and felt a complicated mix of emotions: anger, pity, satisfaction, hope. "I'll think about it," I said finally. It was all I could offer right then. My mother's call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the middle of a work meeting when my phone lit up with her number. I excused myself and stepped out to take it. "I know it was you," she said without preamble. Her voice was cold, controlled, but I could hear the fury underneath. "The birthday gift, the photos, all of it. It was you." I didn't hesitate. "Yes, it was." The control in her voice wavered. "How dare you humiliate me like that in front of everyone?" I laughed, and for the first time in years, it actually felt good. "You want to talk about humiliation? How about spending my entire childhood as your personal servant? How about being told I wasn't good enough to attend your birthday party because I didn't have a college degree? But that's different, right?" "No, Mother, it's not different." My voice was steady now. "You spent my whole life belittling me. You turned Dad against me. You turned the twins against me. You made me feel like I wasn't good enough to be part of this family. Well, guess what? Turns out I'm the only one who actually belongs in it." Silence stretched between us. Then, finally, her voice trembled. "You've ruined everything." "No, Mother, you ruined everything. I just exposed the truth. Maybe next time you lecture someone about morality and proper behavior, you'll remember your own actions." I hung up before she could respond. The months that followed brought massive changes to our family. Dad's divorce was finalized quickly. He had excellent lawyers and an airtight case. Mother fought for a substantial settlement, but with the DNA results and undeniable proof of her infidelity, she had little leverage. In the end, she walked away with only a modest sum, nowhere near the lavish lifestyle she had imagined for herself. Last I heard, she moved to another city. Good riddance. The family gossip mill went into overdrive, but to my surprise, most of our relatives seemed pleased with how things had turned out. Over coffee one day, Aunt Jane shook her head with a smirk. "Your mother had it coming, always looking down her nose at everyone, acting like she was better than the rest of us. Do you know she once spent an entire Christmas dinner lecturing me about how I was raising my kids wrong? Miss High and Mighty herself, preaching about family values while she was—" She trailed off, laughing. "As for Dad, we're slowly building something real, an actual relationship, not the hollow version we had before. He calls regularly now. I've had him over for dinner a few times. He's still struggling with everything that happened, but I can see him healing. Sometimes he even smiles again. The twins? I haven't spoken to them since the truth came out. They tried calling in the beginning, but I blocked their numbers. What could they possibly say to undo a lifetime of cruelty? Some might call it revenge. I call it justice. My mother spent years crafting a perfect facade, presenting herself as the embodiment of grace and virtue, while treating me like I was nothing. All I did was pull back the curtain and let everyone see who she truly was. What do you do when the people who were supposed to lift you up spent years tearing you down instead? When the family that should have been your greatest support became your biggest obstacle? Avery spent her entire life as the afterthought, the burden, the one expected to sacrifice while her siblings were handed everything. For years, she was cast aside, treated as lesser simply because she wasn't one of them. But when her mother decided that even her presence wasn't welcome at a family event, something inside her finally snapped. She was done playing their game. And when the opportunity for justice presented itself, Avery took it. Exposing her mother's hypocrisy wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. For years, her mother used her superiority complex as a weapon, looking down on Avery for not having a college degree, for not fitting the pristine image she wanted to present to the world. But in the end, it wasn't Avery who was an embarrassment, it was her. Now, the facade is shattered. Her mother has lost everything. Her father has finally opened his eyes, and the twins? They were never part of Avery's real family anyway. She spent her whole life trying to prove she belonged, only to realize she was the only one who truly did. So here's the question. Would you have done the same in Avery's position? Would you have fought back, or would you have walked away? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
The phone rings at 3 in the morning, and I already know it's bad news. No one calls at this hour to share their joy. "Grandma?" Emma's voice cracks through the speaker. "I need you." My heart pounds against my ribs as I sit up in bed. Liam stirs beside me, his hand reaching for mine in the darkness. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "I'm pregnant." 2 words. Just 2 simple words, and suddenly I'm back in that sterile hospital room, watching my daughter Olivia slip away while a newborn Emma wailed in the nursery. The memory hits me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. "Where are you?" I managed to ask, already swinging my legs over the side of the bed. "At home. Ryan's... He's not here. He stormed out when I told him." Of course he did. That worthless boy, always chasing his dreams of becoming the next big DJ sensation, leaving my granddaughter to deal with this alone. I'm Sierra Thompson, and I've spent the last 18 years raising Emma after losing my only daughter. I won't let history repeat itself. "Stay where you are. We're coming over." Liam's already dressed by the time I hang up. He knows. He always knows. "That punk Ryan better pray I don't find him first," he mutters, grabbing his car keys. The drive to Emma's apartment is silent, heavy with unspoken fears. We find her curled up on her couch, looking so young and vulnerable it makes my chest ache. Her mascara has left dark trails down her cheeks, and she's clutching her phone like a lifeline. "He said he's not ready," she whispers as I pull her into my arms. "Said his career is just taking off, that a baby would ruin everything." Liam's jaw tightens. "That boy works for me now. He'd better start thinking about his responsibilities." "Daddy offered him that job 3 months ago," Emma explains to me, hiccuping through her tears. "Ryan's been showing up late, leaving early, says the construction work is just temporary until he gets his big break." I stroke her hair, but my mind is already racing ahead, plotting and planning. "We'll figure this out, baby girl. You're not alone." "I'm scared," she admits, her hand drifting to her still flat stomach. What if something happens like with Mom?" The question hangs in the air like poison. Liam turns away, but not before I catch the shimmer in his eyes. "We've never fully recovered from losing Olivia. How could we?" "Nothing's going to happen to you," I say firmly, even as my own fear threatens to choke me. "We're here. We'll take care of everything." My phone buzzes, a text from Jenna Carter, Ryan's mother. "Just heard from Ryan. He's at some club downtown. I'm so sorry, Sierra. I don't know what's wrong with that boy anymore." I show the message to Liam, watching his expression darken. He owns Thompson Builders, the largest construction company in town. One word from him, and Ryan's future in this city could vanish like morning dew. "Let me handle Ryan," Liam says quietly. "I'll make sure he understands what's at stake." But I'm already forming my own plans. Ryan Carter thinks he can abandon my granddaughter, leave her to face this alone. He has no idea what I'm capable of. I made a promise over Olivia's grave to protect Emma, and I intend to keep it, no matter the cost. Emma finally drifts off to sleep on the couch, exhausted from crying. As I cover her with a blanket, my phone lights up again. Another text from Jenna. "Ryan's booking a flight to Miami. Says there's some big music festival he can't miss." I look at my sleeping granddaughter, so much like her mother it hurts, and feel something cold and hard settle in my chest. Ryan Carter is about to learn that some decisions have consequences that last a lifetime. A week passes, and Emma moves back home with us. I watch her unpacking her things, fitting her life back into her childhood bedroom, and my anger toward Ryan grows with each passing hour. "He's coming over today," Emma announces at breakfast, pushing her untouched toast around her plate. "Says he wants to talk about everything." Liam's coffee cup hits the saucer with a sharp crack. About time that boy showed his face. "Please don't start, Grandpa," Emma pleads. "He's trying." I bite my tongue until I taste copper. Trying? Running off to Miami for a week while your pregnant girlfriend cries herself to sleep isn't trying. But I promised Emma I'd give him a chance, so I force a smile and clear the dishes. The doorbell rings at noon. Ryan stands on our porch in a designer t-shirt that probably cost more than a week's salary at Thompson Builders. His eyes are bloodshot and there's glitter still stuck to his neck from whatever club he crawled out of. "Mrs. Thompson," he nods, trying to slide past me. I plant myself firmly in the doorway. "Emma's resting. You can talk to her in the living room." Liam's already there, sitting in his armchair like a judge presiding over court. Ryan's confidence wavers as he takes a seat on the edge of the couch. "Emma," I call upstairs. "Ryan's here." She comes down slowly, one hand unconsciously resting on her stomach. The sight makes Ryan shift uncomfortably. "Baby, I've been thinking," he starts, and I have to grip the back of Liam's chair to keep from interrupting. "This timing, it's not great. I've got this huge opportunity coming up. This producer in Miami wants to sign me for a residency at his club." Emma's face crumples. "What about the job at Thompson Builders?" "That was temporary, you knew that. This is my real chance, Emma. I could make it big." "And the baby?" Liam's voice cuts through the room like a blade. "Is that temporary too?" Ryan runs his hands through his styled hair. "Look, I'll send money when I can, but I can't be tied down right now. My career—" "Your career?" I step forward and Ryan actually flinches. "You mean playing other people's music in dark rooms while drunk college kids dance? That's more important than your child?" "Grandma, please," Emma whispers, but I'm beyond stopping now. "You want to know what a real career looks like?" I gesture to Liam. 30 years building a company from nothing, supporting his family, being there when— My voice catches, memories of Olivia threatening to overwhelm me. Ryan stands up, defensive. "I'm not trying to be like Mr. Thompson. This is different. Emma, you understand, right? We're young. We've got our whole lives ahead of us." "No," Emma says quietly, and we all turn to look at her. "I don't understand. This baby is coming whether you're ready or not. I thought you loved me enough to at least try." "I do love you. That's why I'm being honest instead of making promises I can't keep." A bitter laugh escapes me. "Honest? Was it honest when you told Liam you'd take the job seriously? When you promised Emma you'd always be there for her?" Ryan's face darkens. "With all due respect, Mrs. Thompson, this is between me and Emma." "Nothing about my granddaughter is just between you and her," I snap. "Not anymore. Not after what happened to her mother." "Sierra," Liam warns, but the words are already out. Emma stands up suddenly. "I can't do this right now. I need some air." She rushes out the back door and Ryan moves to follow her. Liam rises from his chair, blocking his path. "Sit down, son. We need to have a serious discussion about your future at Thompson Builders." I leave them there, following Emma into the garden. She's standing by Olivia's rose bushes, tears streaming down her face. I really thought he'd change, she whispers as I approach. I thought when he came back, he'd realize what matters. I wrap my arms around her, feeling her shoulders shake with silent sobs. Through the window, I can see Ryan gesturing angrily at Liam, his face red with indignation. Something cold and calculated settles in my chest as I watch him. Don't worry, sweetheart, I murmur into Emma's hair. Everything's going to work out exactly the way it should. And I know exactly how to make that happen. The neon sign of the underground pulses against the night sky as I sit in my car, watching. 3 hours I've been here, waiting for proof of what Jenna Carter told me this morning. He's supposed to be at work, she'd said, voice cracking. But I found these flyers in his room. He's been doing secret DJ sets when he should be at the construction site. The side door opens, and there he is. Ryan Carter, who should be handling inventory at Thompson Builders, is instead loading equipment into a beaten-up van. My fingers tighten around my phone, already recording. The timestamp will be perfect evidence for Liam. A girl in a crop top follows him out, laughing as she hands him something that glints in the streetlight. Cash. My jaw clenches so hard it hurts. Emma's at home right now, suffering through morning sickness that lasts all day, while this worthless boy plays his games and collects under-the-table money. I step out of my car, heels clicking against the pavement. Ryan freezes when he spots me, guilt flashing across his face before it hardens into defiance. "Mrs. Thompson," he says, trying to sound casual. "What brings you here?" "Funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. Liam's been wondering why the inventory counts keep coming up short." The girl looks between us, sensing tension. "I should go," she mumbles, retreating inside. "You following me now?" Ryan's voice has an edge. "That's kind of crazy, don't you think?" "Crazy as lying to your pregnant girlfriend while you chase pipe dreams in dirty clubs." I hold up my phone. Should we show Emma this video? Or should we start with Liam? His face darkens. "You don't understand. This gig paid more than I make in 2 weeks at Thompson Builders. I'm doing this for Emma, for the baby." "By stealing time from your job? By lying?" "I'm not stealing anything. I'm building my future. The club owner wants me to open for some big names next month. This could be my break." I laugh, and it sounds bitter even to my ears. "Your break? While Emma can barely keep food down? While she cries herself to sleep wondering if you'll ever grow up? Don't pretend you know what's best for Emma," he snarls, stepping closer. "You're so caught up in your grief over her mother that you can't see you're suffocating her. Emma understands my dreams. She supports me." The mention of Olivia hits like a physical blow. "You don't get to speak about my daughter. You don't get to use her name while you're out here destroying everything we've built for Emma." Built for her or built to control her? His words drip with venom. Maybe if you hadn't kept her so sheltered, she'd understand there's more to life than following your rules. Something snaps inside me. Rules? You think protecting her is about rules? My daughter died bringing Emma into this world, and I promised her... My voice breaks, but anger pushes me forward. I promised her Emma would have a good life, a safe life, not this mess you're creating. The only mess here is you, Mrs. Thompson, living in the past, trying to control everyone because you couldn't control what happened to Olivia. The sound of my palm striking his face echoes in the empty parking lot. We both stand there, shocked by the sudden violence. "You have one chance," I say, my voice deadly quiet. "One chance to make this right. Come clean to Liam tomorrow, apologize to Emma, and commit to your responsibilities. Or I'll make sure you never work in this town again, in construction or clubs." Ryan rubs his cheek, eyes burning with hatred. "You know what? Do your worst. Emma will see you for what you really are, a bitter old woman who can't let go. And when she does, you'll lose her too." He climbs into his van and peels out of the parking lot, leaving me standing there with my hand still stinging. My phone buzzes, a text from Emma. "Where are you? Ryan's not answering his phone and I'm not feeling well." I look at the club's neon sign, then at the video I've recorded. Ryan thinks I'm bluffing about destroying his chances in this town. He has no idea what I'm capable of, what lengths I'll go to protect my family. "On my way home, sweetheart," I text back. Then I make another call. Jenna, we need to talk about your son. And this time, we're going to do more than just worry. Jenna Carter's kitchen smells like burnt coffee and regret. She hasn't stopped crying since I showed her the video of Ryan at the underground, mascara creating dark rivers down her weathered face. I found these too, she says, sliding a stack of papers across the table. Credit card statements all maxed out in Ryan's name. He used my address to apply for them. I had no idea until the collection calls started. My hands shake as I flip through the charges. Airline tickets, DJ equipment, hotel rooms, thousands of dollars of debt, all while he's been telling Emma he's saving for their future. There's more, Jenna whispers, and something in her voice makes me look up. The producer in Miami, he's not real. Ryan's been lying about everything. He paid some guy to pose as a talent scout at his shows. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. Does Emma know? Ryan swore me to secrecy, said he just needed time to make it big, then he'd pay everything back. Jenna's laugh is hollow. I wanted to believe him. Every mother wants to believe in their child. I think of Olivia, of all the dreams I had for her that died in that hospital room. Sometimes believing isn't enough. My phone buzzes, a text from Emma. Grandma, please come home. Something's wrong. Fear grips my chest as I stand, already reaching for my keys. I have to go. Sierra? Jenna catches my arm, her eyes desperate. Whatever you're planning, remember Ryan's still my son. I meet her gaze. And Emma's still my granddaughter. I find Emma curled up on the bathroom floor, pale and shaking. The sight sends me straight back to Olivia's final days, and for a moment I can't breathe. The doctor said it's just severe morning sickness, Emma manages between heaving breaths. But Ryan won't answer his phone. I needed him, and he won't answer. I help her to bed, rage building with every whimper of pain. Once she's settled, I check her phone. Dozens of unanswered messages to Ryan, while his social media shows him setting up for another club night. Liam appears in the doorway, his face grim. Just got a call from the site manager. Ryan hasn't shown up for work in 3 days. I know where he is, I say, showing him the social media posts. And I know what he's been hiding. We step into the hallway and I tell him everything. The credit cards, the fake producer, the lies. With each revelation, Liam's expression darkens. I'll fire him first thing tomorrow, he growls. No, I say, surprising myself. Not yet. I have a better idea. Sierra? There's a warning in his voice. He knows me too well. Trust me, I whisper, just as Emma calls out from her room. We find her sitting up in bed, staring at her phone in disbelief. Ryan just posted that he's quitting Thompson Builders. Says he's moving to Miami next week to start his music career. Her voice cracks. He didn't even tell me. I sit beside her, taking her trembling hands in mine. There's something you need to know about Miami, sweetheart. But before I can continue, Emma's phone lights up with a call from Ryan. She answers on speaker, her voice small and hurt. Were you going to tell me? Baby, this is my chance. His words slur slightly. He's been drinking. Come with me. We can start fresh, away from your grandparents' control. I feel Emma stiffen beside me. What about the baby? We can figure that out later. This producer, he's offering me everything I've dreamed of. There is no producer, I say loudly, unable to stay silent. Tell her the truth, Ryan. Tell her about the credit cards, the lies. The line goes quiet for a long moment. Then Ryan laughs, a cold sound I've never heard from him before. You just couldn't help yourself, could you, Mrs. Thompson? Had to stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Ryan, Emma's voice trembles. What is she talking about? Ask your grandmother about control, he spits. Ask her why she really keeps you so close. It's not about protecting you. It's about replacing your mother. The words hang in the air like poison. Emma looks at me, questions and accusations warring in her eyes, and I realize this fight for her future just became much more complicated than I imagined. The contractions start at midnight. I'm awakened by Emma's scream, a sound that tears through 18 years of carefully constructed walls and drops me right back into that hospital room with Olivia. Something's wrong, Emma gasps when I reach her bedroom. It's too early. My hands shake as I help her to the car. Liam's already calling ahead to the hospital, his voice steady but his face ashen. We've been here before. We know how this story can end. Call Ryan, Emma pleads between contractions. Please, Grandma. He needs to know. I grip the steering wheel harder, remembering the social media posts from earlier. Ryan's latest update showed him at some music festival in Miami, his arms around two girls in bikinis. The timestamp was just 3 hours ago. But I make the call anyway because Emma's asking, because she's scared, because she's so much like her mother, it hurts. Voicemail. Of course. Ryan, Emma's in labor. She needs you. Get on the next flight home. I pause, swallowing my pride. Please. The emergency room is a blur of activity. Emma's blood pressure is too high, the baby's heartbeat too low. Everything's happening too fast, just like before. Mrs. Thompson? A nurse touches my arm. We need your granddaughter's medical history. And the father's? I'm handling it, I snap, but my hands won't stop shaking as I fill out the forms. Every beep of the monitors sends another crack through my composure. My phone buzzes. A text from Ryan. Can't leave now. Biggest show of my career tonight. Tell Emma I'm sorry. The phone crashes against the wall before I realize I've thrown it. A nurse jumps, startled, but I'm already moving, pushing through the doors to Emma's room where she's crying, asking for Ryan. He's not coming, is he? She reads it on my face. He's really not coming. Emma, sweetheart. Don't. She turns away, tears mixing with sweat. You were right about him. You were right about everything. The monitors start screaming. Doctors rush in, shouting terms that sound too familiar. Preeclampsia, emergency C-section, the same words they used with Olivia. No, I whisper, but they're already wheeling Emma away. No, not again. Please, not again. Liam catches me as my knees buckle. This time is different, he says firmly. Emma is stronger. We know what to watch for. My phone lies shattered on the floor, but Liam's still works. I grab it, dialing Jenna's number. Where is he? I demand when she answers. Where exactly is your son? Sierra, please. Your son is about to lose everything. His girlfriend, his child, maybe both. Just like I lost Olivia. Tell me where he is. There's a long pause. The Ultra Music Festival. He's opening for some DJ at midnight. I check the time, 11:45 p.m. What stage? Sierra, what are you planning? The same thing you should have done years ago. I'm going to make him face reality. I hang up and turn to Liam. Stay with Emma. I need to make some calls. Sierra, I promised Olivia I'd protect her daughter. I failed her once by letting that boy into Emma's life. I won't fail her again. I step into the hallway, pulling up contacts I haven't used in years. Old friends who owe favors. People who know people. One call to the festival's security chief, who still remembers when I helped his daughter years ago. Another to a local news station that loves scandal. A final call to the Miami police about those credit card fraud charges Jenna discovered. By midnight, Ryan Carter's big break will become his biggest nightmare. But as I hit dial on the first number, Emma's monitor alarms start blaring again, and a doctor rushes past me shouting orders. For a moment, I freeze. Is this revenge worth the cost? Am I doing this for Emma, for Olivia, or for myself? Then I hear Emma cry out for her mother, and my resolve hardens. Some choices can't be undone, but some consequences can't be avoided either. I press send, and the wheels of destruction begin to turn. The surgery takes 6 hours. I pace the waiting room like a caged animal, watching Miami news feeds on my phone as Ryan's world implodes in real time. Security footage of him being escorted off stage. Police waiting in the wings. His face splashed across local news as credit card fraud charges break. It should feel like victory. Instead, all I can think about is Emma's last conscious words before they wheeled her into surgery. Mom, I'm scared. She wasn't calling for me. She was calling for Olivia. Sierra! Liam's voice cuts through my thoughts. He's standing in the doorway, his face unreadable. Emma's out of surgery. The baby? His silence tells me everything. The NICU is too quiet, too sterile. Emma's daughter, my great-granddaughter, lies in an incubator, smaller than any baby should be. tubes and wires make her look like a science experiment rather than a newborn. 20% chance, the doctor had said. The next 48 hours are critical. My phone buzzes. A text from Jenna. They're holding Ryan without bail. What have you done? What have I done? I look at this tiny baby fighting for life, at Emma unconscious in recovery, and suddenly my carefully orchestrated revenge feels hollow. Mrs. Thompson? A nurse appears with paperwork. We need the baby's name for the birth certificate. Her mother's not awake to... Given the circumstances, we need it now, for the records. I stare at the form, pen hovering over the blank space. In my mind, I hear Emma calling for her mother, see Olivia's face the day she told me she was pregnant, feel the weight of 18 years of guilt and grief and rage. The nurse clears her throat. Mrs. Thompson? Olivia, I write, then immediately scratch it out. My hand shakes as I realize what I've almost done. I'm doing exactly what Ryan accused me of, trying to replace one loss with another. I can't, I tell the nurse, pushing the form away. We have to wait for her mother. My phone rings. It's the Miami police detective wanting a statement about the credit card fraud. I send it to voicemail. Another call. The local news station, hungry for more details about the disgraced young DJ whose girlfriend is fighting for life while he sits in jail. You should eat something, Liam says, appearing beside me. You've been here 12 hours. I can't leave them. Sierra. He takes my hand, forces me to look at him. This isn't Olivia. What happened then? It's not happening again. Isn't it? Emma's unconscious? The baby might not make it? And I'm standing here just as useless as I was 18 years ago. You're not useless. I'm what? A vengeful old woman who sent her granddaughter's boyfriend to jail while she was in surgery? Who almost named her great-granddaughter after her dead mother because I can't let go? The monitors on the baby's incubator start beeping. Medical staff rush in, and we're pushed aside, forced to watch through glass as they work to keep this tiny life from slipping away. My phone buzzes again. A text from an unknown number. Ryan using his one phone call. I hope you're happy now. You've destroyed everything. And suddenly I realize he's right. In my quest for revenge, in my desperate need to protect Emma from suffering Olivia's fate, I've become exactly what I feared. Someone who hurts others to avoid their own pain. The beeping stabilizes. The baby lives for now. But as I watch her tiny chest rise and fall, I understand that this was never about protecting Emma or honoring Olivia's memory. It was about me, trying to control what I couldn't bear to lose again. I need to fix this, I whisper. How? Liam asks. Before I can answer, a nurse rushes out of Emma's room. She's waking up, she says, and she's asking for Ryan. The weight of what I've done crashes over me like a wave. I've spent so much time fighting to prevent history from repeating itself that I never stopped to consider I might be the one making the same mistakes, just in a different way. Now I have to face Emma and tell her what I've done, and this time there's no one to blame but myself. The Miami-Dade Detention Center smells like industrial cleaner and despair. I sit across from Ryan, separated by scratched plexiglass, and for the first time, I see him clearly. Not as the villain I've made him out to be, but as someone's child, barely older than Emma. Your daughter's fighting for her life, I say into the phone receiver, while you're in here because of what I did. He leans forward, eyes bloodshot. Finally admitting it? That you set me up? I made the calls, yes. But you set yourself up, Ryan. The credit card fraud, the lies about the producer. I did what I had to do to chase my dreams. At least I'm honest about who I am. He presses his palm against the glass. What's your excuse? Before I can answer, a guard approaches with paperwork. Carter, your bail's been posted. We both stare in surprise. Through the visiting room window, I see Liam talking to a clerk. Why? Ryan asks, suspicious. Because Emma needs to see you, and you need to see your daughter. The drive back to the hospital is tense. Ryan sits in the back seat, still wearing his festival wristbands. I catch his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looks terrified. She's small, I warn him, smaller than you're expecting, and there are lots of tubes. I can't do this, he blurts out. I'm not ready to be someone's father. Liam pulls the car over so suddenly we all lurch forward. Neither was I, he says, turning to face Ryan. When Olivia told us she was pregnant with Emma, I was terrified. But you know what? Being ready doesn't matter. Being there does. The NICU is quiet when we arrive. Emma's awake, sitting in a wheelchair beside the incubator. She doesn't look up when we enter. Emma, Ryan starts, but she cuts him off. Don't. Her voice is raw. I don't want your excuses. I want you to look at her. Really look at her. Ryan steps closer to the incubator, and I see the moment it hits him, the reality of this tiny life he helped create. His hands shake as he reaches toward the glass. She needs a name, Emma says quietly. I've been waiting, hoping you'd want to be part of that decision. The silence stretches. Ryan presses his forehead against the incubator, shoulders shaking. When he finally turns around, there are tears on his face. I can't give her what she needs, he whispers. I can't give either of you what you need. I thought I could fake it until things worked out, but seeing her like this... Ryan. No, Emma, listen. Your grandmother was right about me. I'm not ready for this life, and pretending I am would only hurt you both more. I step forward, guilt crushing my chest. Ryan, I was wrong too. What I did was protect your family, he finishes. I get it now. I really do. He turns back to Emma. Name her whatever you want. She deserves better than what I can give her. Emma's face crumples, but there's relief mixed with the pain. I think I've always known, she admits. I just needed you to say it. Ryan nods, then pulls something from his pocket, his hospital ID bracelet from when he was born. Maybe give this to her, so she knows I existed, that I saw her, even if I couldn't stay. He walks out without looking back. Through the window, we watch him hand his visitor's badge to the nurse, shoulders straight, but head down. I'm sorry, I tell Emma, though the words feel inadequate. I thought I was protecting you, but I just made everything worse. No, Emma says, surprising me. You forced us all to face the truth, even if your methods were extreme. A ghost of a smile crosses her face. You're just like Mom that way. The baby stirs in her incubator, tiny fingers flexing. Emma reaches through the port to touch her daughter's hand. Hope, she says suddenly. Her name is Hope Thompson, because that's what she gave me. Hope that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I look at my granddaughter, seeing not just echoes of Olivia now, but something entirely new and resilient. And I realize that sometimes protecting someone means letting them find their own way through the pain. Hope comes home on a quiet Tuesday morning. The doctors call it a miracle. I call it Thompson's stubbornness. She's tiny but fierce, just like her mother, just like Olivia. Emma insists on carrying her through the front door herself, though her C-section scar still pulls when she walks. I hover behind her, hands ready to catch them both, until she gives me a look so much like Olivia's that I have to step back. I've got this, Grandma, she says softly. You don't have to carry everything anymore. The nursery we've prepared isn't the one Emma and Ryan painted together months ago. That room, with its half-finished music note border, remains closed. Instead, we've converted my sewing room, the one where I used to sit and stare at Olivia's old photos when the grief felt too heavy. As Emma settles Hope into her crib, the doorbell rings. Through the window, I see Jenna Carter standing on our porch, clutching a small package. I won't stay, she says when I open the door. Ryan asked me to bring this before he leaves for California. The package contains a USB drive and a handwritten letter. My hands shake as I read it. What is it? Emma asks, appearing behind me. His first real song, I say, scanning the letter. He wrote it for Hope. Says he wants her to know he chose to leave because staying halfway wasn't enough, for any of you. Emma takes the USB drive, turning it over in her hands. Did we do the right thing, letting him go? Before I can answer, Hope's cry echoes through the baby monitor. Emma straightens, instinct already kicking in. Would you mind, she asks Jenna, coming up to meet your granddaughter? Jenna's eyes fill with tears. I didn't think, after everything? She should know all her family, Emma says firmly. even the complicated parts. I watched them climb the stairs together, these two women bound by circumstance and choice, and realized something about protection I never understood before. Sometimes it means stepping back, letting others forge their own connections, even if they're different from what you imagined. Later that night, I find Emma in Olivia's old room, Hope asleep against her chest while Ryan's song plays softly from her phone. It's surprisingly good, a gentle melody about choices and consequences, about loving something enough to let it go. Mom would have handled this better, Emma whispers, tracing Hope's tiny features. She wouldn't have tried to control everything like we did. No, I admit, sitting beside them. She would have trusted love to find its own way. Even when it hurt, even when it meant watching people make mistakes. Is that why you kept her hospital bracelet? The one she wore when she had me? I freeze. I've never told anyone about the bracelet tucked away in my jewelry box, saved from the day we lost Olivia and gained Emma. How did you... Found it years ago, Emma says. That's why I kept Ryan's. Not for Hope, really. For me. To remember that sometimes loving someone means accepting when they can't stay. Hope stirs, her tiny hand wrapping around Emma's finger. In the soft lamplight, I see 3 generations of Thompson women reflected in their faces. Olivia's strength, Emma's resilience, Hope's future stretching out before her. I've been thinking, Emma says suddenly, about taking some college classes. Online at first, while Hope's small, maybe business courses. Business? She nods. Thompson Builders will need new leadership someday, and I want Hope to see that her mother built something too, even if her father had to leave to find his path. I think about revenge then, about how I thought destroying Ryan would somehow protect Emma from pain. But here she sits, stronger for having faced that pain herself, making choices I never would have imagined. Your mother would be so proud, I whisper, but Emma shakes her head. She'd be proud of all of us, she corrects me, for learning to love without trying to control the outcome. Hope sighs in her sleep, and Ryan's song fades to silence. Outside, the world continues turning, full of possibilities we can't predict or protect against. But in this moment, watching my granddaughter hold her daughter, I finally understand what Olivia tried to teach me. True protection isn't about preventing pain. It's about being there to witness the healing.
The voicemail played again, Chloe's broken sobs piercing through my car's speakers. Aunt Everly, I'm at your house. Mommy left me here. Please come home. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The timestamp showed 43 minutes ago. I slammed the accelerator, weaving through traffic like a maniac. The text from my sister Megan still burned in my mind. Left Chloe at your place. Need to figure things out. Watch her for a few days. A few days, as if her 7-year-old daughter was a houseplant she could drop off at someone's doorstep. I'm Everly, and this wasn't the first time my sister had pulled something like this, but it would definitely be the last. My tires screeched as I turned onto my street. There she was, my little niece curled up on my front porch steps, her pink backpack clutched to her chest like a shield. The sight of her there, alone, made something snap inside me. Chloe, I called out, barely putting the car in park before jumping out. She lifted her tear-stained face and my heart shattered. I'm sorry, she whispered as I wrapped her in my arms. Mommy said you'd be home. How long have you been waiting, sweetheart? Since after lunch. I counted all the cars that drove by, 73. I pulled back, studying her face. Her glasses were smudged with tears and her dark hair had come loose from its braids. Are you hungry? Cold? She shook her head, then nodded, then shrugged. I had to pee really bad, but I didn't want to leave in case you came. The rage building inside me threatened to explode. I fumbled with my keys, ushering her inside. Let's get you to the bathroom, then we'll have something to eat. While Chloe was in the bathroom, I fired off a text to my husband, David. Megan dumped Chloe at our house. Coming home early? His response was immediate. What the actual hell? On my way. I was heating up leftover lasagna when my phone rang. Megan's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Look, I know you're probably pissed, but Liam has this huge academic competition coming up, and Tom and I need to focus on getting him ready. She just gets in the way. You know how she is. Always needing attention, always struggling with everything. It's just for a little while. The microwave dinged. I stabbed the delete button with such force my nail bent backward. Chloe appeared in the kitchen doorway, her face freshly washed but her eyes still red. Is that Mommy? Is she coming back? No, honey, not right now. Come eat something. She climbed onto a bar stool, her legs dangling. Did I do something wrong? Absolutely not. I set the plate in front of her, fighting to keep my voice steady. Nothing about this is your fault. But Mommy said if I was more like Liam. Stop. The word came out sharper than I intended, making her flinch. I softened my tone. You are perfect exactly as you are. David arrived home just as Chloe was finishing her food. He took one look at her, then at me, and I saw the same fury in his eyes that I felt in my gut. Hey, kiddo, he said, ruffling her hair. Emma's gonna be so excited for a sleepover when she gets back from Grandma's tomorrow. Chloe's face brightened slightly. Really? Really, really. He caught my eye. Why don't you go pick out a movie while I talk to Aunt Everly? Once she was out of earshot, David pulled me into a tight embrace. What are we going to do? I buried my face in his chest, letting out a shaky breath. We're going to protect her, and then we're going to make my sister realize exactly what she's throwing away. From the living room, we heard Chloe's small voice. Can we watch Frozen? Of course we can, sweetheart, I called back, pulling away from David. Whatever you want. Whatever you want, because God knows you've never had that choice before. But things were about to change. Megan had no idea what she'd just set in motion. The memory hit me like a freight train as I watched Chloe sleep on our couch. Last Thanksgiving, the moment I should have seen this coming, Megan had paraded Liam around the dinner table like a show pony, practically glowing as he recited the periodic table from memory. He's already studying high school chemistry, she'd bragged, her hand possessively gripping his shoulder. His teacher says he could skip 2 grades. Meanwhile, Chloe sat at the far end, pushing food around her plate, invisible. Until she wasn't. I drew a picture in art class, she'd said softly, pulling a folded paper from her pocket. Mrs. Henderson said it was really good. Tom had barely glanced up from his phone. That's nice, honey. Liam, tell everyone about your science fair project? I'd watched Chloe's small fingers crumple the drawing's edge, her eyes dropping to her lap. The same defeated posture she had now, even in sleep. My phone buzzed. Megan again. This time, I answered. Finally, she snapped. I've been trying to reach you all evening. Funny, that's exactly how long your daughter was sitting alone on my porch. Don't start, Everly. You have no idea what it's like. What's like? Having a child who needs actual parenting instead of just bragging rights? Silence crackled between us. Then, we're coming to pick her up tomorrow. Liam's competition is next week, and we need to focus. No. Excuse me? I said no, you don't get to treat her like a rental car you can return when it's convenient. She's my daughter. Is she? Because from where I'm standing, she's just an inconvenience you'd rather not deal with. David appeared in the doorway, his expression concerned. I waved him off, stepping onto the back porch. You've always been jealous, Megan hissed. Jealous that Liam's gifted, that Tom and I have. Have what? A perfect little family for your Christmas cards. Tell me, does your country club know you abandoned your 7-year-old today? Another silence. This one darker. You wouldn't dare. Try me. You know what your problem is, Megan? You're so obsessed with having the perfect life. You can't see the damage you're doing. Chloe doesn't need fixing. She needs parents who give a damn. We give her everything. Everything except love. The words tasted bitter. You want to know what she asked me today? If she did something wrong? A 7-year-old thinking she's somehow responsible for her mother dumping her like unwanted baggage. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, but I'm making it fairer starting now. Chloe stays here until you and Tom get your priorities straight. You can't do that. Watch me. I ended the call, my hands shaking. David's arms wrapped around me from behind. You okay? No. I leaned back against him. You should have seen her face when she showed that drawing, David, like she already knew they wouldn't care, but she had to try anyway. I remember. He turned me to face him. I also remember you hanging that drawing on our fridge when she wasn't looking. A sound from the doorway made us both turn. Chloe stood there in her borrowed pajamas, clutching the stuffed elephant Emma had insisted she take. Is Mommy mad at me? I crossed to her, kneeling down. No, sweetheart. Mommy's mad at me because I told her some things she needed to hear. She nodded, too used to adult conflicts happening over her head. Can I stay here, just for a little while? As long as you need to. I smoothed her hair back. Want to help me make pancakes for breakfast tomorrow? Emma's coming home, and she loves when we add chocolate chips. A tiny smile, like a crack of light through storm clouds. Can we make shapes? Any shape you want. I glanced at David, who nodded slightly. We'd figure out the legal stuff later. Right now, this little girl needed to know she mattered. Even dinosaurs? Especially dinosaurs. I took her hand. Though, fair warning, mine usually end up looking more like blob monsters. She actually giggled, and the sound was worth whatever storm Megan would try to rain down on us tomorrow. My sister wanted a war? Fine, but she'd better be ready for one hell of a fight. The doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. Emma had just tackled Chloe with a welcome home hug, pancake batter still dotting their pajamas. I knew before I opened the door, some things you feel in your gut. Megan stood there, perfectly coiffed in her tennis whites. Tom loomed behind her, his face set in that practiced neutral expression he used for board meetings. We're here for Chloe, Megan announced, trying to peer past me. She's eating breakfast. Perfect, she can finish at home. Liam has a practice session with his academic coach in an hour. The casual cruelty of it struck me speechless. Behind me, I heard the girls' laughter from the kitchen, the clatter of plates as David served more pancakes. No, I said finally. Tom stepped forward. This isn't a negotiation, Everly. She's our daughter. Really? Because I have some interesting text messages that suggest otherwise. I pulled out my phone. Let's see. Chloe just gets in the way. That's from yesterday. Oh, and here's one from last week. Can you take her Thursday? Parent-teacher conference for Liam? Megan's face flushed. You're twisting things. The school called me. I cut in. Did you know that? They've been trying to reach you for weeks about Chloe's progress. Apparently, she's been coming to class hungry, missing assignments. Where were you, Megan? At Liam's advanced placement meetings, Tom answered, his corporate mask slipping. Which you'd understand if you had a gifted child. Something snapped inside me. I have 2 gifted children in my kitchen right now. One of them just happens to be yours. Don't be ridiculous, Megan scoffed. We've had her tested. The doctors said she processes things differently, not that she's worth less than your precious prodigy. A small voice behind me. Mommy? We all turned. Chloe stood there, syrup on her chin, Emma hovering protectively beside her. The sight of them together, one child secure in her worth, the other still learning she had any, made my decision crystallize. Go back to breakfast, girls, I said gently. David's making dinosaur shapes. But, Chloe started, it's okay, sweetheart, I promise. They retreated, Emma's arm around her cousin's shoulders. I faced my sister and brother-in-law. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. I'm calling Child Protective Services. I have documentation of neglect stretching back months, text messages, school records, witnesses who've seen you leave her alone for hours. The color drained from Megan's face. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Or we can handle this another way. Chloe stays here until you both get your act together. Real therapy, family and individual, regular visits with actual engagement, and you start treating her like she matters. This is absurd, Tom sputtered. We're her parents. Then start acting like it. I pulled out my phone. Your choice, CPS or cooperation, decide now. They exchanged glances. I could see the calculations happening. Their reputations, their social standing, the gossip that would follow a CPS investigation. Fine, Megan spat. Temporary custody, but this isn't over. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. And Megan, next time you want to dump your kid somewhere, remember I keep receipts. They left without saying goodbye to Chloe. I watched their luxury SUV pull away, my hands shaking with delayed rage. In the kitchen, I found David already on his laptop, researching family lawyers. The girls were giggling over a particularly misshapen pancake. "Look, Aunt Everly," Chloe held up her plate. "Emma says this one looks like a T-Rex." "Definitely a T-Rex," I confirmed, dropping a kiss on her head. "Very fierce." David caught my eye. "Everything okay?" I watched Chloe show Emma how to make her pancake roar, complete with sound effects. For the first time since she'd started staying with us, her shoulders weren't hunched with tension. "It will be," I said. "One way or another, because some battles are worth fighting, even if you have to burn bridges to win them. And some children are worth saving, even from their own parents, especially from their own parents." Mother's antique clock ticked away in her living room as I watched her read through the texts from Megan. Each swipe of her finger made her frown deepen. "Well," Nancy said finally, setting down her phone. "I always knew Megan was headstrong, but this..." She removed her reading glasses. "Have you told her about the adoption plans?" "Not yet." I traced the rim of my untouched tea. "David's meeting with a lawyer tomorrow." "And you're sure about this? Taking on another child permanently?" The question hung between us like smoke. Through the window, I could see Chloe and Emma in the backyard, building what they claimed was a fairy house out of twigs and leaves. 2 weeks had passed since the confrontation with Megan, and Chloe's nightmares had finally stopped. "I found something yesterday," I said, while doing Chloe's laundry. I pulled out my phone, showing Mother the photo I'd taken. These were in her jacket pocket. Mother squinted at the screen, a handful of crushed granola bars, some still in their wrappers, others reduced to crumbs. "She's been hoarding food," I continued. "David caught her trying to hide pancakes in her pillowcase this morning." "Oh, Lord," Mother pressed her hand to her mouth. "How long has this been going on?" "The school counselor says it's common in neglected children. They never know when their next meal is coming, so they..." I couldn't finish. A crash from outside made us both jump. We rushed to the window, but it was just Emma, apologizing profusely for knocking over their fairy house. Chloe was already gathering the scattered twigs, telling her cousin it was okay. They could build a better one. "She's different with Emma," Mother observed, more confident. "Because Emma treats her like a person, not an inconvenience." I turned from the window. "But there's something else. Something worse." Mother waited as I pulled out another photo, a crumpled drawing I'd found hidden under Chloe's mattress. Stick figures of a family, a tall man, a woman, a boy with a trophy, and a small figure drawn in black, standing apart from the others. "Look at the words," I said quietly. Mother adjusted her glasses. Above each figure, in a child's unsteady writing, "Daddy, important. Mommy, busy. Liam, special. And over the black figure, me, wrong. I'm going to kill her," Mother whispered, and I'd never heard her voice so cold. "I'm going to kill my own daughter. Get in line." I took back the drawing. "But first, I need your help. The lawyer says we need character witnesses, documentation of Megan's neglect. You've seen more than anyone. You know what this will do to the family?" This family was broken the moment Megan decided her daughter wasn't worth loving. Mother's grandfather clock chimed the hour, making us both start. Outside, the girls had abandoned their fairy house and were now chasing butterflies, their laughter floating through the window. "Do you remember," Mother said slowly, "when Megan was born? How you used to follow her around, trying to help take care of her? You were only 2, but you were already such a protector." "Mother, let me finish." She stood, crossing to her writing desk. "I've been keeping something. Call it a mother's intuition, or maybe just experience." She withdrew a thick envelope. "I've been documenting things, dates, incidents, photographs. Times Megan left Chloe here without warning. Occasions when she forgot to pick her up. The birthday party she missed because of Liam's science fair." My hands shook as I took the envelope. "How long?" 2 years. Mother's voice was steel. "I knew someday someone would need to step in. I just didn't know it would be you." A squeal of delight drew our attention back to the window. Emma had caught a butterfly, carefully showing Chloe how to look at it without touching its wings. The sun caught Chloe's smile, real, unguarded, free. "She deserves better," I said. "Yes," Mother squeezed my shoulder. "And we're going to make sure she gets it." The clock ticked on, marking time between what was and what would be. Outside, Two little girls chased butterflies, one of them learning, minute by minute, that she wasn't wrong after all. She was just waiting to be right. The custody hearing notice arrived on a Tuesday. I stared at the official letterhead while David paced behind me, his footsteps echoing in our suddenly too small kitchen. "They're claiming parental alienation," I said, the words tasting like ash. "Megan's telling the court I manipulated Chloe against them. That's ridiculous. They have character witnesses, other parents from Liam's advanced programs, their country club friends." I dropped the papers. "All testifying how devoted Megan and Tom are to their children." A muffled thump from upstairs made us both freeze. Then Emma's voice. "Sorry, we're just building a blanket fort." David stopped pacing. "They're requesting immediate return? Within 48 hours. My fingers traced the court seal. And supervised visits only for us afterward. The doorbell rang, sharp and demanding. Through the front window, I saw Tom's Mercedes in our driveway. Alone. "Get the girls upstairs," I said. "All the way upstairs?" David hesitated only a moment before climbing the stairs. I heard him telling them it was secret fort inspection time, his voice deliberately light. I opened the door. Tom stood there in his tailored suit, looking every inch the successful finance executive he portrayed to the world. "We can end this quietly," he said without preamble. "No courts, no publicity." "You mean no evidence?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Megan's devastated. She's had to increase her anxiety medication." "Funny how Chloe's nightmares don't seem to concern you." "Don't be dramatic. Children are resilient." "Is that what you tell yourself when you ignore her?" He stepped closer, dropping his voice. "Think carefully, Everly. I have friends in family court, judges who understand the importance of keeping families together. How do you think it'll look? You trying to steal your sister's child? About as good as the photos of Chloe's empty lunch account, or the school counselor's reports, or the security footage of her sitting alone outside her dance class for 2 hours because you and Megan forgot to pick her up." His facade cracked just slightly. "Where did you—" "I've been documenting everything. For years. Every missed pickup, every emergency drop-off, every time you chose Liam's science fair over Chloe's parent-teacher conference." I met his gaze. "Everything. You're bluffing. Try me. I wonder what your firm would think about a partner who neglects his child. Or your country club friends when they see the evidence laid out in court. You wouldn't dare. Daddy." We both turned. Liam stood on the sidewalk, his backpack clutched tight. I hadn't even noticed him in the car. "Go back to the car, son," Tom said sharply, but Liam didn't move. "Is Chloe here? Can I see her?" "Not now. Please. She wasn't at my competition last week. I got first place and she always makes me cards when—" "Liam! Car, now!" The boy flinched at his father's tone and something clicked into place. I watched him shuffle back to the Mercedes, shoulders hunched in a posture I'd seen too often on his sister. "You're doing it to him too, aren't you?" I said softly. "Just differently. He's not your son. He's your trophy." Tom's expression hardened. "You have no idea what you're talking about, don't I? Tell me, what happens when he stops winning? When the pressure gets too much? Will you abandon him too?" "You have 24 hours to return Chloe," he said, but I caught the tremor in his voice. "Or we'll let the courts decide." "Perfect. I look forward to showing them everything." I stepped back. "Give Megan my love." I closed the door on his reply, waiting until I heard the car drive away before letting my hands shake. Upstairs, I found David and the girls in Emma's room, their blanket fort a masterpiece of engineering. Chloe was teaching Emma a clapping game, their laughter a counterpoint to the tension still thrumming through my body. "Everything okay?" David asked quietly. I watched Chloe, her face animated as she corrected Emma's rhythm. No trace of the frightened child who'd hoarded food and drawn herself in black crayon. "No," I said, "but it will be. Because some wars are worth fighting, even when your enemies are family. Especially then." The courthouse bathroom mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized. 3 hours into the emergency custody hearing, and my carefully constructed case was unraveling like a cheap sweater. I splashed water on my face, trying to wash away the image of Megan on the stand. tears streaming as she described how I'd manipulated her during a vulnerable time, how I'd taken advantage of her anxiety to steal her daughter. The door creaked open. Mother stepped in, her face grim. "They're calling Chloe next." My stomach lurched. "They can't. She's 7, for God's sake." The judge granted their motion. They're claiming she needs to speak about the alienation. I gripped the sink until my knuckles went white. Outside, I could hear the muffled sounds of the courthouse, the casual indifference of a system about to traumatize a child. "Where is she now?" "With David and Emma. Everly." Mother hesitated. "Tom's lawyer has photos." "What photos?" She pulled out her phone, showing me images that made my blood freeze. Chloe at our house, crying during a nightmare. Chloe refusing to go with Megan during a supervised visit. Chloe clinging to me at the park. "They're saying it proves I coached her." My voice sounded distant, hollow. "That I taught her to fear them." "Mrs. Harrison?" A clerk appeared at the door. "They're ready." The courtroom felt smaller than before, more suffocating. Megan and Tom sat with their lawyer, the picture of concerned parents. Their friends from the country club filled the gallery, a united front of privilege and judgment. David brought Chloe in, Emma trailing behind despite being told to wait outside. The girls' hands were clasped tight, neither willing to let go. "The court calls Chloe Bennett," the judge announced. Chloe's eyes found mine, wide with terror. I wanted to grab her, run, protect her from this moment. Instead, I watched helplessly as she walked to the witness stand, her shoes barely making a sound on the polished floor. Tom's lawyer approached, all gentle smiles and grandfatherly concern. "Chloe, sweetheart, I just have a few questions about your Aunt Everly." "Objection," our lawyer started, but the judge waved him down. "Did your aunt ever tell you your mommy and daddy don't love you?" Chloe's lower lip trembled. "No." "Did she ever say you shouldn't trust them?" "No." "Then why don't you want to go home?" Silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Chloe stared at her hands, then at Emma, then at me. "Because," her voice was barely a whisper, "because they forget me." The lawyer's smile never wavered. "Forget you?" "At dance class, and school, and..." Chloe's words tumbled out faster. "And Liam's competitions, and when I'm hungry, and..." "Objection!" Megan's lawyer stood. The child is clearly repeating coached responses. "I have pictures!" Chloe suddenly shouted, making everyone jump. "In my notebook, the one with butterflies." My heart stopped. The notebook we'd never found, the one Megan claimed Chloe had lost months ago. "What pictures, sweetie?" Tom's lawyer asked indulgently. "Of when they forget. I take them with Emma's old phone, when they leave me places, when they lock the..." She hiccuped. "When they lock the door so I don't bother Liam studying." The courtroom erupted. Megan's face went chalk white. Tom's lawyer scrambled to redirect, but Chloe wasn't finished. "Emma showed me how to save them to the cloud," she said, her voice stronger. "So they can't delete them like last time." I looked at my daughter, who met my gaze steadily. My 8-year-old had done what I couldn't, given Chloe a way to protect herself. "Your Honor," our lawyer jumped in, "we request an immediate review of this evidence." The judge peered at Chloe over her glasses. "Young lady, do you have access to these photos now?" Chloe nodded. "Emma's mom put the password in my butterfly notebook, the one Mommy said I lost." The rubber band snapped. Megan burst into tears, but they weren't the careful, pretty tears from before. Tom's face had turned to stone. Their lawyer was frantically whispering to them, but all I could see was Chloe, 7 years old and braver than anyone in this room, finally telling her truth. The judge called a recess. As David led the girls out, Emma squeezed Chloe's hand and whispered something that made her almost smile. We weren't done. The photos still needed to be verified, statements taken, more battles fought. But watching my daughter lead her cousin to safety, I realized something. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what we do to others, but what we teach our children to do for themselves. The piano notes drifted through the school auditorium, hesitant at first, then gaining confidence. I stood in the shadows of the wings, watching Chloe's small fingers move across the keys, her face a study in concentration. 3 months since the custody hearing, 3 months of supervised visits and court-mandated family therapy. And now this, the elementary school talent show that Megan and Tom hadn't bothered to attend. until now. I saw them slip in through the back doors, Liam trailing behind. They froze when they recognized the melody. Claire de Lune, the same piece Liam had abandoned after declaring it too basic for his talents. Chloe hadn't known they were coming. Neither had I, until Mother texted a warning. But there she sat, back straight, completely absorbed in the music she'd practiced for weeks in our living room. The final notes faded. Silence held for a heartbeat before the audience erupted in applause. Chloe's face lit up as she spotted Emma in the front row, beaming and clutching a bouquet of daisies. Then she saw Megan. I watched her shoulders tense, her smile faltering, but she stood, gave her careful bow just as she'd practiced, and walked off stage, right into Megan's path. That was... Megan's voice cracked. When did you learn to play like that? Chloe gripped the hem of her dress. Emma's taking lessons. She lets me practice with her. But you never showed any interest in music before? I did. Chloe's voice was so quiet I barely heard it. At Liam's recitals, I asked, but you said, we didn't think you could handle it, Tom cut in, with your challenges. I stepped forward, but Mother's hand caught my arm. Wait, she whispered. Chloe lifted her chin. I'm not challenged. I'm different. Aunt Everly says different isn't wrong. Honey, Megan reached for her, but Chloe stepped back. We only wanted what was best. No. The word rang clear and strong. You wanted what was easy. Liam pushed past his parents, thrust something at his sister. A card, hand-drawn with careful precision. I made this, for all your performances, the ones I missed. Chloe took it, her hands trembling. There was only this one. I know. He wouldn't meet her eyes. But I thought, maybe there'd be more. Something shifted in Megan's face. She stared at her children, really looked at them, maybe for the first time. Chloe, we've been so wrong, Tom finished, his corporate mask cracking. We've been wrong. Yes, Chloe said simply, you have. Emma appeared with her daisies, positioning herself like a shield between Chloe and her parents. You were amazing. Want to get ice cream? Mom said we could. Chloe looked at her brother, then her parents, then at me. I nodded slightly. She swallowed hard. Can Liam come? The question hung in the air like a peace offering, or maybe a test. Please? Liam asked his parents. Not demanding, asking. Megan's carefully applied mascara left black tracks on her cheeks. Of course, if Aunt Everly agrees. I stepped forward finally, stood behind both girls. 3 conditions. They waited. First, therapy continues, individual and family. Second, no more comparing. Both children get to explore their own interests. And third, I met Megan's eyes. You admit in court that everything Chloe said was true? No more lies. The social damage, Tom started, is nothing compared to the damage you've already done to your children? Megan touched Tom's arm, silencing him. Yes, to everything. Good. I looked at the children, Chloe, Emma, Liam, standing together like stepping stones across a divide. Ice cream it is. As we walked toward the exit, Chloe's hand found mine. Did you know they were coming? No, sweetheart. Are they sorry for real this time? I watched Megan and Tom trailing behind, their perfect facade finally crumbling, revealing something that might, with enough work, become real parents. I think, I said carefully, they're just starting to understand what sorry means. Chloe nodded, wisdom beyond her years in her eyes. That's okay. I'm just starting to understand what brave means. She skipped ahead to join Emma and Liam, their chatter about ice cream flavors echoing in the empty hallway. Behind us, I heard Megan's muffled sob, and for the first time, it sounded genuine. Sometimes revenge isn't about making someone hurt. Sometimes it's about making them see. The sound of children laughing drifted through my kitchen window. I stood at the sink, watching Emma teach Chloe and Liam how to make soap bubbles with their hands. Simple joy, unmarred by expectations or comparisons. The doorbell rang. I dried my hands, knowing who it would be. Megan stood on my porch, clutching a manila envelope. 6 weeks of therapy had stripped away her perfect facade, leaving something raw but real underneath. The papers, she said, holding them out. Tom signed this morning. Joint custody, Shared holidays, regular therapy, everything we'd fought for laid out in legal terms. "Come in," I said. "David just made coffee." She hesitated, watching the children through the window. "They look happy." "They are." I took the envelope. "Especially since Liam started coming for weekends. Tom hates it, says I'm undermining everything we built." She touched the window glass. But Liam smiles now, actually smiles, not just when he wins something. In the backyard, Liam showed his sister how to catch bubbles without popping them. No trace of the pressure cooker prodigy remained in his relaxed shoulders, his genuine laugh. "The country club dropped our membership," Megan said suddenly. "Apparently, child neglect doesn't fit their image." "I'm sorry." "No, you're not." "You're right, I'm not." She turned from the window. "I keep thinking about that voicemail. Chloe crying on your porch. I was at a wine tasting, showing off Liam's academic awards to potential investors for Tom's firm. Megan, let me finish." She pulled something from her purse, a crumpled drawing, the one with the black stick figure. "I found this in my desk. I'd forgotten. No, I'd chosen to forget. Do you know what hurts most?" I waited. She was right. The black figure. That's exactly how we made her feel. Invisible? Wrong. Her voice cracked. My baby girl, and I made her feel wrong. Through the window, Chloe's laughter rang out as she successfully caught a bubble. "Look, I did it." "Good job, sis," Liam called, genuine pride in his voice. Megan pressed her hand to her mouth. I touched her shoulder, feeling the tremors running through her. "You can't undo it," I said quietly. "But you can do better now." "How? After everything?" "By showing up, by seeing her, really seeing her, by letting Liam be a kid, not a trophy." I gestured to the backyard, "by letting them both be exactly who they are." David appeared with coffee cups, reading the room with his usual perception. "The kids could probably use some lemonade. Want to help me take it out, Megan?" She wiped her eyes, nodded. Together they carried drinks outside, where the children greeted them with soapy hands and genuine smiles. I stayed at the window, watching my sister navigate this new territory of genuine parenthood. She handed Chloe a glass, their fingers touching briefly. Not quite comfortable, not yet healed, but trying. Mother's words from months ago echoed in my mind. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people face themselves. Looking at my sister now, really looking, I saw someone facing her reflection for the first time. The carefully curated image of perfect motherhood had shattered, leaving space for something authentic to grow in its place. Chloe caught me watching and waved, her face glowing. Emma whispered something in her ear that made them both giggle. Liam, free from the weight of constant achievement, showed them how to make bigger bubbles by linking their hands together. I picked up the custody papers, scanning the final page where 4 signatures would soon formalize this new reality. Not a fairy tale ending, those don't exist in real families, but something better, a true beginning. Outside, my sister learned to laugh with her children instead of at them. David caught my eye through the window, raising his glass in a subtle toast. I touched the glass, feeling the warmth of the sun and the echo of children's laughter. Some victories don't look like winning. Sometimes they look like soap bubbles in sunlight, like siblings sharing secrets, like a mother learning to see her children clearly for the first time. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's restoration.
The crystal glasses clinked with forced cheer as Marcus Bennett raised his flute, commanding attention like he commanded everything else in his life. His steel-gray eyes swept across our dining room, landing on each face with calculated precision. I watched him from my seat, noting how even his smile seemed measured, portioned out like shares in a hostile takeover. "To new beginnings and profitable partnerships," he announced, his voice carrying that particular tone that successful men use when they know they've already won. My father's hand trembled slightly as he lifted his own glass. I'd never seen him like this before. Peter Morgan, the man who built houses with his bare hands, looking like he might crumble under the weight of a champagne flute. "I'm Tessa," and this was the moment I realized something was terribly wrong with my family. "The merger will benefit everyone," Marcus continued, placing his free hand on my father's shoulder. The gesture looked friendly enough, but I caught the slight dig of his fingers into the fabric of Dad's suit jacket. Your expertise in construction, combined with Bennett Development's resources, it's a natural fit, Peter. My mother Linda beamed from her end of the table, blissfully unaware of the predatory undertones. She'd spent 3 days preparing this dinner, convinced that having the Bennetts over would somehow elevate our social standing. If she only knew. I still need time to consider the details, my father said, his voice carrying none of its usual confidence. Marcus's son Ryan caught my eye across the table and quickly looked away. He was handsome in that privileged way that came from never having to worry about anything, but something in his expression suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. Time? Marcus's laugh could have frozen hell. Peter, in this market, time is a luxury you can't afford. My offer is more than generous, considering the circumstances. I watched my father's face pale slightly. What circumstances would those be, Marcus? Dad, Ryan interrupted, maybe we should discuss business another time? Mrs. Morgan's roast is getting cold. But Marcus waved him off like an irritating fly. The circumstances of your loans coming due, Peter. The circumstances of your outdated equipment and aging workforce. The circumstances of that lawsuit from the Henderson project. My fork clattered against my plate. This was the first I'd heard of any lawsuit. Marcus. My father's voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. Not here. Not in front of our families. Why not? They'll find out soon enough when I buy your company for pennies on the dollar. Marcus stood, straightening his perfectly tailored jacket. You have until the end of the week, Peter. After that, I'll have to pursue other options. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's smile had finally cracked, revealing the confusion beneath. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. Emma Bennett, Marcus's wife, simply sipped her wine with practiced indifference. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. Mr. Bennett, I believe you've overstayed your welcome. Marcus turned to me, seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time that evening. His smile shifted into something more calculating. Ah, the psychology graduate. Tell me, Tessa, what does your degree tell you about survival of the fittest in the business world? It tells me predators eventually face extinction, I replied, matching his tone. He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Charming. Peter, you should teach your daughter about respect. It might serve her better than idealism in the long run. As the Bennetts filed out of our dining room, I caught Ryan glancing back at me. There was something like apology in his expression, mixed with something else I couldn't quite read. My father remained seated, staring at his untouched plate. The proud shoulders that had carried me as a child now seemed to bear the weight of an impossible choice. Dad, I started, but he cut me off. Not now, Tessa. Please. I watched him push away from the table and retreat to his study, leaving behind the ruins of our family dinner and the first tremors of what would become an earthquake in our lives. Looking at my mother's tears and the half-empty wine glasses, I made a silent promise. Marcus Bennett would regret the day he threatened my family. I just didn't know yet how deep that promise would take me. 3 days after the disastrous dinner, I stood outside my father's office, watching him through the dusty window. The construction yard behind him was eerily quiet. No workers, no machinery, just rows of idle equipment gathering rust under the afternoon sun. My hand hesitated on the door handle. The last time I'd tried talking to him, he'd shut me down with that stern look I hadn't seen since my rebellious teenage years. But this time I had ammunition. The Henderson lawsuit isn't real, I said, dropping the stack of courthouse records on his desk. I checked every filing from the past 5 years. Nothing. Dad didn't look up from his paperwork. You shouldn't be investigating my business affairs. Someone has to. You're certainly not telling us anything. His pen stopped moving. The silence between us filled with 28 years of stubbornness. His and mine, mirror images of each other. Marcus Bennett is lying, I pressed on. He's making up problems to force your hand. Why? Because that's what men like Marcus do. He finally looked up, eyes tired. They create problems, then present themselves as the solution. Then fight back. You built this company from nothing. And I can lose it just as fast. He stood up, walking to the window. The lawsuit might be fake, but the loans are very real. The bank's calling them in early. They can't do that. They can when Marcus Bennett sits on their board of directors. The pieces clicked into place. I felt sick. He planned this. How long has he been setting this up? Does it matter? Dad turned back to me, and for the first time I saw defeat in his posture. Even if I fight the bank, he'll find another way. Men like Marcus always do. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace Thompson, my best friend and newly minted lawyer. Found something. Meet me ASAP. I have to go, I said, gathering my papers. But this isn't over. Tessa. His voice stopped me at the door. Leave it alone, please. Your mother. She can't handle losing everything. That's exactly why I can't leave it alone. Grace was waiting at our usual coffee spot, surrounded by legal documents and wearing her I found dirt smile. Bennett Development isn't just buying your dad's company, she said without preamble. They're buying up the entire neighborhood. Look. She spread out property records across the table. Names I recognized. The Hendersons, the Patels, old Mrs. Rodriguez, all with pending sales to shell companies. They're using different company names to hide the pattern, Grace explained, but they all trace back to Bennett Development. He's destroying our community piece by piece, I muttered, scanning the documents. Why? Luxury condos. Grace pulled up a rendering on her tablet. The whole area's getting rezoned. Your dad's company is just one piece of the puzzle. I stared at the sleek glass towers that would replace my childhood home. We have to stop this. How? Everything they're doing is technically legal. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. The text made my blood run cold. We should talk. Ryan Bennett. Maybe we fight fire with fire, I said, showing Grace the message. She grabbed my wrist. Tessa, don't. Getting involved with Ryan Bennett is like playing with matches in a gasoline factory. Good. I'm ready to watch something burn. I typed back, when and where. Ryan's response came immediately. Tonight. The Blue Room. 8 p.m. Grace was still shaking her head. Your father asked you to stay out of this. My father asked me to protect my mother, I corrected, standing up. And sometimes protection means going to war. Just be careful, Grace called after me. The Bennetts play for keeps. Walking home, I passed the old playground where I'd spent countless summers. A coming soon sign already marked its future demolition. Marcus Bennett wasn't just threatening my family's livelihood, he was erasing our history. Tonight, I'd find out if his son could be turned into an ally, or if he was just another weapon in Marcus's arsenal. Either way, I was done playing defense. If Marcus Bennett wanted a war, I'd give him one he wouldn't forget. My phone buzzed one last time. Ryan again. Come alone. My father can't know about this. I smiled grimly. The game was changing, and for once I had a card to play. The Blue Room lived up to its name, casting everything in an ethereal glow that made even the truth feel fluid. Ryan Bennett sat at the corner booth, his fingers drumming an anxious rhythm on his whiskey glass. He looked different here, away from his father's shadow, less polished, more human. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said, as I slid into the seat across from him. I wasn't sure you'd show. I kept my coat on, ready to leave at the first sign of manipulation. Why did you want to meet? Before he could answer, a familiar voice cut through the ambient jazz. Perfect timing. Marcus Bennett emerged from the shadows like a demon summoned by his name, sliding into the booth beside his son. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a meeting. It was an ambush. Ryan, I said, my voice sharp with betrayal. I thought... He did what he was told, Marcus interrupted, for once. He placed a manila envelope on the table between us. Your father's loan documents, the bank's foreclosure notice, and a solution to everyone's problems. I didn't touch the envelope. I don't make deals with people who threaten my family. No? Marcus smiled, all teeth and no warmth. Then why are you here? Dad, Ryan started, but Marcus silenced him with a look. My son needs direction, structure, a reason to finally grow up. Marcus's eyes fixed on me like a sniper's scope. You need to save your father's legacy. I'm offering a mutually beneficial arrangement. The pieces clicked into place. You want me to marry Ryan? Smart girl. Marcus pushed the envelope closer. Say yes, and all these problems disappear. Your father keeps his company, your mother keeps her home, and your charming little neighborhood stays exactly as it is. Ryan wouldn't meet my eyes. His fingers had stopped drumming, frozen mid-beat. And if I say no? Marcus shrugged, the gesture almost elegant in its cruelty. Then I destroy everything your father built, piece by piece. The bank forecloses next week. The rezoning approval comes through the week after that. By Christmas, there won't be anything left of the Morgan name worth saving. My hands clenched under the table. You're a monster. I'm a businessman. One who's offering you a very generous opportunity. He stood, straightening his perfect suit. You have until tomorrow night to decide. Ryan will handle the details if you accept. After Marcus left, the silence between Ryan and me grew thick enough to choke on. Did you know? I finally asked. When you texted me? Yes. At least he had the decency to look ashamed. He's been planning this for months. The loans, the rezoning, all of it. Why me? Ryan laughed, hollow and bitter. Because you're everything I'm not. Driven, principled. The perfect influence to fix his disappointment of a son. He drained his whiskey. Plus, your father's company has the contracts he needs for the development. It's a neat solution to all his problems. Except mine. I stood up, my legs shaking. Tell your father he can go to hell. Tessa, wait. Ryan caught my arm. You don't understand what he's capable of. He'll destroy everything. I yanked free. Then I'll destroy him first. But walking home through the familiar streets of my neighborhood, past the houses and shops that had shaped my childhood, doubt crept in like evening shadows. I thought of my father's defeated expression, my mother's oblivious happiness, the families who would lose everything when Marcus Bennett's bulldozers rolled in. My phone buzzed, Grace calling to check on me. I ignored it. Another text from Ryan. I'm sorry, but he always wins. Standing outside my parents' house, I watched through the window as they sat together on the couch, my mother leaning against my father's shoulder as they watched TV. They looked peaceful, unaware that their world was about to shatter. I pulled out my phone and typed a response to Ryan. Tell your father I want everything in writing, and one condition of my own. The reply came instantly. Name it. I want proof that every family in this neighborhood gets fair compensation and relocation assistance. Every single one. 3 dots appeared, disappeared then. Done. Welcome to the family. I walked inside, carrying the weight of my decision like armor. Sometimes revenge meant playing the long game. Sometimes it meant saying yes when everything in you screamed no. And sometimes it meant marrying the devil's son to save your father's soul. The engagement party felt like a carefully orchestrated performance, with Marcus Bennett as the proud director. Every smile was measured, every toast rehearsed. I stood beside Ryan in the Bennett mansion's grand ballroom, both of us playing our parts to perfection. You two make such a lovely couple, Emma Bennett said, her voice carrying a note I couldn't quite read. She touched my arm, her fingers ice-cold despite the warmth of the room. Though I must admit, it all seems rather sudden. Ryan's hand tightened on my waist. When you know, right, darling? I forced a smile, wondering if his words carried as much irony for him as they did for me. Absolutely. Emma's eyes flickered between us, sharp and knowing. Indeed. Ryan, dear, would you fetch me a fresh drink? I'd love a moment with my future daughter-in-law. Once Ryan was gone, Emma's pleasant mask slipped. I know what my husband is doing. I don't know what you mean. Please. She led me to a quiet corner, her voice dropping. Marcus has been trying to control Ryan's life since birth. This marriage is just another chain. She paused, studying me. But you're not what he expected, are you? Before I could respond, Marcus's voice boomed through the room. If I could have everyone's attention! He stood on the stairs, commanding the crowd like a king addressing his subjects. Ryan returned, positioning himself beside me, his posture stiff. Today we celebrate not just love, but legacy, Marcus continued. The joining of 2 families, 2 businesses, Two futures. He raised his glass. To Ryan and Tessa, may their union bring everything we've hoped for. The crowd applauded, but I caught Grace's worried expression from across the room. She'd been against this from the start, calling it a deal with the devil. I need air, I muttered, slipping away from Ryan and the suffocating pleasantries. I found myself in Marcus's study, drawn to the architectural plans spread across his desk. The familiar streets of my neighborhood were marked with red lines, demolition zones. But something was different from the plans Grace had shown me. These were dated earlier, much earlier. Fascinating reading? I spun around. Marcus stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. These plans are from 6 months ago, I said. Before the loans, before everything. You've been planning this all along. Business requires foresight. He closed the door behind him. Just like marriage. This isn't marriage, it's extortion. No. He moved closer, his voice dropping. It's evolution. The weak adapt or die. Your father chose not to adapt. You engineered his failure. I created an opportunity for all of us. He smiled, cold and calculating. Including you, Tessa. You think you're sacrificing yourself for your family? Look deeper. This arrangement gives you power, influence, a chance to make real change. By destroying my community? By rebuilding it. Better, stronger. He gestured to the plans. You could be part of that vision, or you could remain an obstacle to be removed. The threat hung in the air between us. Through the door, I heard Ryan's voice, searching for me. Think about it, Marcus said, turning to leave. You're not just marrying my son, you're joining an empire. After he left, I stayed frozen, staring at the plans. A shadow fell across the desk. Ryan. I heard everything, he said quietly. Did you know? About the timeline? No. He moved beside me, his fingers tracing the red lines on the plans. But I'm not surprised. Nothing happens in my father's world without careful orchestration. He paused. Including us. I looked at him then. Really looked at him. Behind the practiced charm, I saw something familiar. The same trapped expression I saw in my own mirror every morning. I found something else, he said, pulling out his phone. Records of similar developments in other cities. The pattern's always the same. Manufactured crises, forced sales, destroyed communities. He met my eyes. We could stop him. We? I'm tired of being his puppet. Ryan's voice hardened. Help me bring him down, and I'll help you save your neighborhood. The party continued beyond the study walls, voices and music mixing into a distant hum. I thought of Emma's warning, of Grace's concern, of my father's defeat. How do I know I can trust you? Ryan's laugh was bitter. You can't, but right now, we're all each other has. He held out his hand, offering not romance but alliance. I took it, sealing a different kind of engagement, one built on revenge rather than love. The game had changed, and so had the players. The cathedral-stained glass cast fractured rainbows across my wedding dress as I stared at my reflection. 300 guests waited in the nave, all here to witness what they thought was a fairy tale merger of two powerful families. You don't have to do this. Grace adjusted my veil, her eyes meeting mine in the mirror. We could still find another way. There is no other way. I touched the pearl necklace my mother had given me, her own mother's before that. Not if I want to save everyone. The door opened, and Emma Bennett slipped in, elegant in midnight blue. 5 minutes. She paused, studying me. Marcus wants a word before the ceremony. Grace stepped between us. Absolutely not. It's fine, I said, though nothing was fine. Give us a moment? Once alone with Emma, I braced for another warning, but she surprised me by pressing a small USB drive into my palm. Security footage from Marcus's private office, last week's meeting with the zoning board. My fingers closed around it. Why? Because my husband destroyed my family to build his empire. I won't watch him destroy yours too. She turned to leave, then stopped. But be careful. Marcus suspects Ryan isn't as loyal as he appears. The drive felt like it was burning through my palm. I slipped it into my garter, mind racing with possibilities. My father knocked softly, entering with red-rimmed eyes. "Ready, sweetheart?" "Dad." The words caught in my throat. How could I tell him this wedding was a sham, that his future son-in-law was plotting against his own father? "I know something's wrong," he said quietly. "I'm not blind, Tessa. Whatever's happening, whatever you're trying to protect me from, you don't have to carry it alone." The organ began playing, its notes echoing like a funeral dirge. "We need to go," I whispered, taking his arm. The walk down the aisle felt endless. Ryan waited at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, wearing the same mask of contentment I'd practiced all month. Marcus stood in the front row, surveying his masterpiece with satisfaction. But halfway down the aisle, Ryan's expression changed. Something flickered in his eyes. Warning or fear, I couldn't tell. He glanced at his father, then back at me, giving an almost imperceptible shake of his head. My steps faltered. "Steady," my father whispered, tightening his grip on my arm. We reached the altar and Ryan took my hand. His palm was sweating. "Don't trust anything," he murmured as we turned to face the priest. "Not even me." The ceremony blurred past until we reached the vows. Ryan spoke his with practiced precision, but I heard the tremor in his voice that no one else seemed to notice. When my turn came, I opened my mouth to speak, and caught movement in my peripheral vision. Marcus was checking his phone, his face darkening with rage. The words stuck in my throat as Marcus stood abruptly, motioning to someone in the back of the church. Ryan's hand tightened on mine painfully. "Say it," he hissed. "Now." But I saw them now. Men in dark suits moving through the side aisles, their intent clear in their stance. Whatever game Ryan and I thought we were playing, Marcus had already won. "I do," I forced out, the words tasting like ash. The priest pronounced us married just as one of Marcus's men reached him, whispering something urgent. Marcus's expression shifted from rage to cold satisfaction. As we turned to face the congregation, Ryan pulled me close, his lips brushing my ear. He found the evidence we planted. All of it. "What?" "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. "He gave me a choice. Betray you, or watch him destroy everything. I chose." The recessional music started, drowning out my response. We walked back down the aisle, smiling, waving, the perfect newlyweds. My father beamed proudly. My mother wiped away tears of joy. Only Emma's face showed understanding as we passed her pew. She touched her throat, where her own wedding pearls lay, and I saw decades of silent survival in her eyes. The USB drive pressed against my thigh like a brand, now useless, probably planted with false evidence that would only incriminate me further. As we reached the church doors, Ryan squeezed my hand. Comfort or warning or threat, I no longer knew which. The sunshine hit us like a spotlight, and cameras flashed, capturing the moment for posterity. I smiled broader, gripping Ryan's hand until my knuckles went white. If this was war, then let it be war. Marcus Bennett had taught me well. Sometimes the best revenge starts with saying, "I do." The demolition notice appeared on Mrs. Rodriguez's door exactly 1 month after my wedding. I stood on her porch, watching her arthritis-gnarled fingers trace the official letterhead, while her granddaughter translated the legal jargon into Spanish. 30 days, she whispered, looking up at me with betrayal in her eyes. "Your new father-in-law gives us 30 days to leave our home of 40 years. My phone buzzed. Another message from Ryan. I'd been ignoring them since discovering his betrayal at the wedding. The screen showed 15 missed calls, all from him. "I'll fix this," I promised, but the words sounded hollow even to me. Walking down the street, I saw similar notices on every door. The neighborhood that had raised me was being sentenced to death, and I wore the executioner's ring on my finger. Grace met me at her office, spreading documents across her desk. Marcus moved faster than we expected. The zoning board approved everything yesterday. How? The community meeting isn't for another week. Emergency session. She pulled up an email. Apparently there are urgent public safety concerns about the structural integrity of these buildings. My father's buildings? The irony twisted like a knife. He built half this neighborhood himself. Speaking of your father, Grace hesitated. He's in the hospital. Mild heart attack. Your mother called while you were out. The room tilted sideways. I grabbed the desk to steady myself. He's stable, Grace added quickly. But Tessa, this has to end. My phone buzzed again. Ryan. This time I answered. Stop calling me. Meet me at the studio, he said, his voice urgent. I can explain everything. Like how you set me up. Fed me false information to keep me distracted while your father... Please. It's about your father's hospital bills. I froze. What about them? Just come. Alone. Ryan's art studio sat above an old warehouse, one of the few buildings Marcus didn't own. Inside, canvases lined the walls, not landscapes or abstracts, but detailed portraits of our neighborhood. Mrs. Rodriguez tending her roses, the local kids playing basketball, my father supervising a construction site. You've been documenting everything, I realized. For months. Ryan emerged from the shadows, looking haunted. Every person, every story, every building Marcus plans to destroy. Why? Because art reveals truth. And the truth is, my father's empire is built on ruins. He pulled out a folder, including these. Inside were hospital bills, astronomical numbers that made my stomach clench. Marcus arranged for your father to be treated at a private facility, Ryan explained. The best care possible, all expenses covered, a gesture of goodwill from a concerned in-law. You mean leverage. If you fight the development, these bills become your problem, along with the original loans, the business debts, everything. I sank onto a paint-splattered stool, the weight of it all crushing down. He really thinks of everything, doesn't he? Not everything. Ryan pulled out another folder. Remember that USB drive my mother gave you? The one I helped my father discredit? It wasn't the only copy. Hope flickered, then died. It doesn't matter. He'll just bury any evidence like he always does. Not if we don't give him time to react. Ryan gestured to his paintings. Next week's community meeting, I'm turning it into an art exhibition. Every portrait, every story, projected onto the buildings he wants to tear down, along with evidence of every deal he's ever manipulated. He'll destroy you. He already has. Ryan's laugh was bitter. But maybe that's the price of redemption. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Dad asking for you. Please come. I have to go, I said, standing. Tessa. Ryan caught my arm. I know I betrayed you, but this time I'm choosing the right side. Help me take him down. I looked at the paintings, at the faces of my neighbors captured in careful brushstrokes, at my father's proud smile, preserved in oils and canvas, then at the hospital bills that could destroy everything. When's the exhibition? Tomorrow night. No announcements, no warnings, just truth, splashed across every wall he wants to tear down. I thought of Mrs. Rodriguez's trembling hands, my father's hospital bed, Marcus's smug victory at my wedding. Then we better make it count, I said, because we'll only get one shot. Ryan nodded, understanding the real meaning. If we failed, Marcus wouldn't just destroy our neighborhood. He'd destroy us all. The projectors hummed to life as dusk settled over the neighborhood. Ryan's paintings bloomed across the condemned buildings' facades, faces of defiance 30 feet tall. News vans lined the streets, their cameras already rolling. Marcus's sleek car pulled up just as planned. He stepped out, his practiced smile faltering at the sight of the gathering crowd. I watched from the shadows as he spotted the first image, himself, captured in harsh brushstrokes, signing demolition orders with a predator's grin. What is this? He demanded, phone already in hand. Your legacy. I emerged from the darkness, Grace beside me with a tablet displaying livestream numbers. Every deal, every threat, every life you've destroyed, all of it documented and streaming live across the city. His eyes narrowed, scanning the crowd. Where's my son? Ryan appeared on the warehouse roof, spotlit against the evening sky. More paintings unfurled behind him, a cascade of evidence transformed into art. It's over, Dad, Ryan called down. The zoning board is watching. Your investors are watching. Everyone is watching. Marcus's laugh was razor sharp. You think pretty pictures can stop progress? I own this neighborhood. Not anymore. Emma stepped forward, her elegant figure drawing all eyes. The board of directors received some interesting documentation this morning about certain creative accounting practices. You wouldn't dare. Marcus's voice dropped dangerously. Everything you have is because of me. Everything I lost was because of you, Emma corrected, including my son's respect. I moved closer, keeping my voice low. Here's what happens next. You'll cancel the development, release my father's company from all obligations. And those hospital bills you're holding over us? Consider them your parting gift. Or what? He stepped into my space, towering over me. You'll ruin me with paintings and paperwork? His smile turned cruel. You forget, dear daughter-in-law, I still own your father's debt. One phone call and... Make it, Ryan interrupted, now standing beside me. Show everyone exactly who you are. Who? Marcus reached for his phone but froze as new images splashed across the buildings. Security footage from his office showing every backroom deal, every threat, every moment of corruption captured in high definition. The USB drive was a decoy, I explained. The real evidence was in your private server. Emma gave us access months ago. You helped them? Marcus turned on his wife, mask finally cracking. After everything I've given you? You gave me a prison, Emma replied calmly. I'm giving our son his freedom. The crowd had grown, phones recording everything. I recognized faces from the neighborhood, from my father's company, from Marcus's own board of directors, all witnesses to his unraveling. Marcus's hand shot out, grabbing my arm. I will burn everything you love to the ground. No, Ryan stepped between us. You'll walk away, because if you don't, these files go to the SEC, the FBI, every agency you've been bribing for years. You would destroy your own family name? You already did that, Dad. I'm just making it public. For a moment, I saw something crack in Marcus's expression. Not defeat, but recognition. He looked at Ryan like he was seeing him for the first time. You really have become ruthless, he said softly. Maybe I taught you something after all. You taught me what not to be. Marcus straightened his jacket, dignity wrapping around him like armor. You'll regret this, both of you. Maybe, I agreed, but at least we'll regret it on our own terms. He turned to leave, then paused. The hospital bills are paid. Consider it a wedding gift. His smile was pure venom. After all, family is forever. We watched him drive away, his taillights disappearing into the night. The crowd erupted in cheers, but I felt hollow. Victory tasted like ashes. It's not over, Ryan said, reading my expression. He'll find another way to fight back. I know. I looked up at the projected images, at the faces of our community glowing against the darkness. But next time, we'll be ready. Grace approached with her tablet. The board's calling an emergency meeting. Marcus's position is already being questioned. And the development? Suspended, pending investigation. I nodded, feeling the weight of the past months finally lifting. The neighborhood was safe, for now. My father's company would survive. But as I watched Ryan stare after his father's car, I realized some victories come with their own kind of defeat. Was it worth it? I asked him quietly. Ask me tomorrow, he replied, taking my hand as we faced our uncertain future together. The demolition notice still hung on Mrs. Rodriguez's door, but now it was just paper. I helped her tear it down while her granddaughter planted fresh roses in the front yard. Across the street, my father supervised repairs on the Henderson house, his color better, his smile returning. Your husband's painting saved us, Mrs. Rodriguez said, crushing the notice in her weathered hands. Art is stronger than greed, no? I watched Ryan through the studio window above, his silhouette bent over a canvas. Sometimes it just shows us what's worth fighting for. The morning paper lay on Mrs. Rodriguez's porch. Marcus Bennett's face splashed across the business section. The board had voted him out yesterday, though he'd managed to keep enough shares to stay wealthy. His empire had cracked but hadn't crumbled. Men like Marcus Bennett never truly fell. They just adapted. Grace appeared at the end of the street, waving a stack of documents. "The last of the ownership transfers," she called out. "The neighborhood association now controls most of the properties." "And Marcus's shares?" "Divided between Emma and Ryan," Grace smiled. "Though Ryan's talking about turning his portion into an arts foundation for local kids." I climbed the stairs to Ryan's studio, pausing in the doorway. The space had transformed since our confrontation with Marcus. His portraits of the neighborhood now shared walls with abstract pieces, explosions of color that seemed to capture both rage and healing. "The gallery called again," I said, moving beside him. "They want to show your work." Ryan didn't look up from his canvas. "Did you know he came to see me yesterday?" I stiffened. "Marcus?" "He said he was proud of me, that it took real ruthlessness to destroy him like that." Ryan's brush stopped moving. "Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm more like him than I thought. The difference is what you build from the ruins." He turned, really looking at me for the first time since our wedding day. "And us? What do we build?" The question hung between us, heavy with possibility. Our marriage had started as a weapon, forged in revenge and manipulation. But somewhere between plotting and surviving, something real had taken root. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'm willing to find out." A commotion outside drew us to the window. Emma Bennett stood on the sidewalk facing my parents. My mother hugged her, an unexpected peace treaty between families. My father shook her hand, then pointed to some architectural plans he'd been reviewing. "She's helping fund the neighborhood restoration," Ryan explained. "Says it's her way of making amends." "And Marcus?" "Moved to the coast, says he needs time to reassess his priorities." Ryan's laugh held less bitterness than before. "Mom's filing for divorce." I watched our families below, the unlikely alliance of Morgans and Bennetts, builders and artists, all working to restore what greed had nearly destroyed. The revenge I'd sought had transformed into something else. Something that felt more like justice, or maybe redemption. "Your father called me yesterday, too," I said quietly. "Asked why I really married you." Ryan's brush clattered to the floor. "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that I married you to save my family. But that's not why I'm staying." He reached for my hand, paint-stained fingers intertwining with mine. Through the window, we could see the whole neighborhood, the community that had survived Marcus's ambition, stronger for having fought back. "I started another series," Ryan said, leading me to a covered canvas in the corner, "about what happens after revenge." He pulled back the sheet, revealing a work in progress. It showed two figures standing in the ruins of something broken, but around them, new growth emerged, flowers pushing through concrete, vines reclaiming walls, life persisting despite everything. "It's not finished," he apologized. "Neither are we," I replied, squeezing his hand. Below, Mrs. Rodriguez's roses caught the morning light, their blooms defiant against the shadow of what we'd almost lost. My father's laugh carried up to us, strong and clear. Somewhere across the city, Marcus Bennett was plotting his next move. But for now, in this moment, we had won something more valuable than revenge. We had won the right to write our own story.